I thought it was funny how he went to Harbaugh after the game, acting like they won the Super Bowl. Dude, it's just a regular season game. It's in game two.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate Podcast, episode 3. We're covering week 2, going into week 3. Thank you guys for being here. If you haven't already, go subscribe and go onto our TikTok and our Instagram at Dorm Debate Podcast, and make sure you hit the follow button on both of those. We're going to get right into the first topic. It was a pretty monumental, historic week 2. And the reason for that is Lamar Jackson finally beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. He finally did it, got the monkey off his back. They beat the Chiefs in prime time Sunday night. Now, the question at hand, how big is the Ravens win over the Chiefs? It was just one regular season win, right? Was it big? Did it matter at all? Caleb and I are going to start this one off, and John's going to go last because he has a lot to say about this apparently. So I'll start the conversation off. For me personally, I think this is the biggest win in Lamar Jackson's career, even higher than the playoff win.
Wow.
There's a couple reasons behind that. What's been the narrative of Lamar Jackson was, he can't throw the ball. He eventually got over that. But the one hump that he couldn't get over, the one media narrative, was that he could never beat Patrick Mahomes. He could never win a big game, primetime game. And he finally did it, whether it was just by a couple points or an unlucky fumble. He did it. Like, he got the monkey off his back. The trolls, they all shut up. They can't say anything about him and Mahomes now. And just morally for the Ravens team, you get over this hump that you haven't been able to get over for the last 2-3 years, however long Lamar's been in the league. And you do it in prime time, everybody watching. It was a huge win. Now, obviously, for this season, it's just one win. But I think mentally, to be able to conquer that beast that you haven't been able to conquer for so long does volumes for the chances come when they face them in the playoffs. If they face them in the playoffs, it's not going to be as intimidating of a task to beat the Chiefs anymore. They're beatable now. They've done it before, and they'll be able to do it again. They just need to do it that one time. Lamar needed to do it that one time, and he got it done. Caleb, do you agree with me or you disagree?
Yeah, I'd say the win is pretty big. I mean, for a long time, the statement was like, yeah, he's a good running quarterback. He's fun to watch. If anything, as athleticism, he's like a running back. It's insane after watching the Ravens game and then seeing, I forget, it was like the Packers, like Aaron Rodgers or Goff try to run. They say similar paths after watching that and then them stumble a yard or two and then comparing that to what he can do. It's incredible. I'd say it's a pretty big win. It's kind of a miracle in the sense that they got that fumble, but I'd also think back to how there was that narrative of he's good, but you can't win a playoff game because he's tried a couple times. And then he gets that. And then this was the last kind of big one. Even the idea that he can't throw well, he had probably the best game of his career that I've seen in the Chiefs game. Like, he threw some dimes.
Did you see that jump throw that he did?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his best throw.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So I'm thinking, like, yeah, you're a quarterback. You got to throw the football. But I think that athleticism, that Michael Vick-esque, like, he's already putting up numbers that he's going to probably in his career pass, record-wise. So that's a unique thing that is very hard. Like, other quarterbacks can't mimic. So it's like, not who cares whether you can, but he can throw the ball. He's a quarterback. He's good. Maybe he doesn't have the best mechanics or whatever, but he throws dimes when he needs it. And he put the team on his back. I mean, yeah, it's a team effort. Everyone did it. But when he did that, like, somersault into the end zone and they were still down, but that was like the Chiefs did not want to give him that, and he still got it, single-handedly, basically. It was a great play call. And I was thinking, like, yeah, the Chiefs had that fumble to give the Ravens a chance. But even then, the fact that the Chiefs were in a position where they needed to get a first down to secure the win shows that they are still beatable. Like that, the Chiefs defense couldn't hold back Lamar for that touchdown and the 2-point. It's like, yeah, that was a deep hole to climb up, but they climbed out of it. And then not only that, but yeah, they got the help from the fumble. But even then, the Chiefs were depending on the first down to seal the game. So the fact that you got this team that's supposedly unbeatable it's like the third try with the Ravens, on the ropes already. Like, yeah, they got help from the fumble, but that's part of the game, you know. So and you add to the fact that the Ravens delivered in the end, those passes, those dimes, and the runs, and the whole defense getting pressure on Mahomes and being able to. I think it was just a good good coaching, and to see him win, I think it's one of the biggest games of his career.
Jonathan?
Yeah, so at the outset, I just like to say, I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. I think his story is really motivational. A lot of people said he should have switched to running back or receiver coming out of college, right? You can throw. So if you think about all that, and look at where he is now, that's really inspiring. But look, that win over the Chiefs wasn't that big of a deal. The narrative hasn't been he can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Who cares if he can beat Patrick Mahomes? The narrative is, look, his team was ranked number 1 twice in the past 3 years, heading into the playoffs, number 1 seed. What do you do? He won. I think he lost the wild card game, right? That was the first year. And then next year, you got to bye. He lost that divisional round, right? Last year, he also lost. The narrative behind him is he can't take the Baltimore Ravens to that next level. They won the Super Bowl within the past decade. He can't take him back to that promised land. That's the narrative behind Lamar Jackson. And so, yes, that's nice. It's a regular season game. I thought it was funny how he went to Harbaugh after the game, acting like they won the Super Bowl. Dude, it's just a regular season game, and it's a game too. Who knows what's going to happen during the rest of the season? That's not a big deal. That wasn't the narrative. The narrative is he can't win those big games in the playoffs. So if he had beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, okay, he would have proved a lot of people wrong. But right now, I still haven't seen anything. It's regular season. The Chiefs defense has been struggling. They just got Tyrann Mathieu back, right? They're still trying to figure themselves out. I don't think that was a big deal. I don't think that was big of a deal. And honestly, if he hadn't won him the game, people would have gave him a lot of crap. You know why? He threw 2 picks in the first quarter. Okay. 2 picks in the first quarter. He almost cost him the game. So he's lucky that he was able to, save him. He was able to save himself, save his career, because, he would have got a lot of heat for that. So, I don't think it's a big deal. The Chiefs lost regular season, not a big deal to me.
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan on this one.
What?
I don't think it's that big of a deal for a lot of the same reasons that Jonathan said. It's only week 2, and we know that when you get to the playoffs, that's 17 weeks away from now. You're going to have a completely different team than what it is now. The Chiefs are good, but they're not as good as they're going to be when they get to the playoffs. Exactly. And don't forget that when the Ravens played the Chiefs 2 years ago for the first time, it went to overtime. And then last year when they played them, it was within a touchdown. So they've always played them close. So it's not surprising that they finally came out with a win, and they wouldn't have if Clyde didn't fumble the ball. Yeah. So it's not really that surprising that they squeaked away with a win. So I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Like Jonathan said, the narrative isn't can he beat Mahomes, it's can he win in big games. And this really wasn't that big of a game. It was week 2.
Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute.
It's not that big of a game. This game doesn't really matter that much.
This is a matchup.
But you guys, okay.
Titans. This is a good matchup, though.
But no, the Chiefs losing. Okay, the Chiefs losing in week 2. Does that matter? No, that doesn't matter at all. So why does it matter if the Ravens won?
It does matter.
It does matter.
It does because they're lost.
But they've been close every time they've played them. Like, it's not surprising that they got over the hump. I want to see it in the playoffs. I want to see you win playoff games.
I think my issue with it is if Lamar had lost this, the narrative in the media is going to go right back to him and say, oh, he can't win big game because all of a sudden this is a big game. It's like if he won, it's not a big game. But if he lost, it was a huge
game. Well, yeah.
That's true. That's true. A little bit of a little.
That's why they were keeping records saying, oh, he's 0-4 against Mahomes, or he's 0-3 against Mahomes. He can't get over the Chiefs. Like, the battle between Lamar and Mahomes, it's not even a rivalry because he hasn't beaten Mahomes. So, like, all this stuff was going into this game. On top of that, they have injuries up to wazoo. So it's literally just Lamar Jackson and a bunch of random people he just met yesterday.
Random
trying to
people,
running read options.
dude. Latavius Murray is legit.
Murray and Devonta Freeman or whatever. They just got on the team like 2 days ago. So on top of having all those injuries, he carries them on his back, and they just came from a really, really terrible, upsetting loss to the Raiders that they should have won and they lost. Very demoralizing. And they could have came in here and gotten swept by the Chiefs and lost by 30, but they ended up coming back after a demoralizing loss and come back and winning on top of injuries, on top of not being able to beat Mahomes in prime time. I don't care if it's week 2. He did it. They conquered the beast with not even their best team. It wasn't even their best team, and they got it done. No matter what, week 2 or not.
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you that the only reason why it would be considered a big win is because, like you said, they in their heads they got over the fact that they can actually beat Mahomes. So if they meet them in the playoffs, maybe it'll help them a little bit. But that's the only thing I see it being a big deal. Other than that, the game doesn't mean really that much. I think the Ravens would be even lucky to get a wild card spot this year. I don't think they're, like you said, this is not their best team. Their team last year and the year before was better than this, partly due to injuries. So that's just unfortunate, but that's the truth.
I think Jared brings up a good point with the depth issues with running back. Like how many injuries the Ravens had at that position, yet the Chiefs could not stop the run. Now a lot of that was Lamar Jackson, but that's still not being able to stop the run. So when a team can open up against you that way,
but they've never been able to stop the Ravens.
The
Ravens have always scored like 25 points because of Lamar.
I think it shows Lamar's prowess in that like you're down 2-3 running back starters, and then it's just Lamar, and the Chiefs whole defense can't stop the one guy, and then it is a week 2. It's early, but it's a momentum thing. I think also like the picks that Lamar threw in the beginning, that sucks, but it shows that he's willing to gun it, not be afraid. And honestly, we've talked about it before. Quarterbacks who throw picks early on, they kind of like, I already threw a pick, so like they're willing to get those out of the way, and I think we got to think of the momentum. Like whenever Brady and Rodgers plays, whether it's whatever week it is, that's hyped up in the media and in the stories. The questions are asked all week, and it's because quarterback is probably the most important position in football, and you're putting your best guy, who's one of the best in the league, against their best guy, who's one of the best in the league. It's just one of those things that, like, when it comes down to the Super Bowl, you're putting up the best players against the best players, and so you see a little preview of that what could be. And so it's a week 2. Statistically, yes, it does not determining wild card playoff position, but in terms of momentum and narrative and inertia, like especially, I want to talk about that going for the 4th down conversion. You guys see that video of Harbaugh saying, like, Lamar, you want to go for this?
Mm-hmm.
It felt like that's a good connection between the coach and quarterback. But I texted you guys, like, I loved that call so much, because my bet was like, it is better for you to take your fate in your hands. But for those who don't know, the Ravens were 4th and 1, I believe, and it was either punt the ball, give Mahomes
50 seconds.
30, 50 seconds to get into field goal range to win the game, or go for the 4th and 1 and convert and then control your fate and win. And, I think a lot of other teams would punt, because it's like you're putting as much distance as possible. But I think the Ravens did the perfect call with the momentum they had after getting the touchdown and the 2-point and the fumble, all things that you could argue they probably shouldn't have with the injuries against the team they're going against, to then also have the stones to go for it on 4th and 1 and keep Mahomes. I texted you guys, like, I would rather bet on getting the 4th and 1 than betting that Mahomes won't get into field goal range for 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Like, he's that good without many weapons. Like, he's gonna do it. Like, it's like giving Brady too much time. Like, I'd rather just Brady not be on the field and us lose the way we want by trying our best. So I think that's the kind of, early on in the season, I'll bring up some stats when we talk about some of our other topics, but having these early wins does play a factor statistically later on when you go to the playoffs.
And not enough credit is given to the Ravens coaches. Okay, they made Lamar look this good. He wasn't going to be, and if he was on an average team like the Patriots, I don't think he would be that good of a quarterback. But the Ravens offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, he's a mastermind. He created, this great offensive scheme with great linemen, multiple running backs to, create that triple option look. So it's not like Lamar is hard to stop. It's just that offensive scheme that's just hard to stop in general. So,
I think it's a little bit of both. I think you have to have that. Like, you have to have coaches willing to change their scheme to fit the styles of their quarterbacks or running backs or receivers. Lamar's just a freak athlete. If you didn't run an option in some capacity, you'd just be wasting his talent away trying to have him throw in the pocket. So,
you know what the Chiefs feel like? I don't want to beat a dead horse. So we've been on this topic for a while. You know what it feels like to me is in Avengers Infinity War when they're fighting Thanos, and after all this fighting, they get him to bleed a little bit, and he's like, all that for a drop of blood. I think that's the Chiefs' reaction. Like, okay, you got us. It's week 2, haha. But we're Thanos.
Yeah, but it shows that he's human.
It's possible, But it's I know we've been going on for, but I thought that was
That's
to some degree, there's value there, I think.
I completely agree. Well, we're talking about the Chiefs. We're talking about the Ravens. So let's talk about another top team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are just on fire. It looks, they just cut up at what, Jonathan? What?
They're not on fire. Per se. They played the Falcons.
They played the Falcons.
The Cowboys too.
And they played the Cowboys and they beat them both. And now they have the top offense in the league. They have the most touchdowns, 9 passing touchdowns. Cool fact. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have no rushing touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
Really weird. Sorry if you have Fournette or Ronald Jones. Really bad picks in fantasy.
It's a matter of time, though. They'll spread the ball.
Yeah, for sure. So the question at hand, with the Tampa Bay Bucs just rolling right now and Brady not even breaking a sweat, is there any team that can knock off the reigning champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Anybody want to take a stab at it and a possible team to knock them off the throne?
Yeah, they're definitely going to lose a game before the season ends.
I'm not talking about a game. I'm talking about like Super Bowl, like
Super Bowl.
When it comes playoff time, are you thinking, oh, this team has a chance to beat them in the playoffs? I'm not talking if they lose one game.
Oh, I'm thinking in the season. So that'll be my answer, is within the regular season.
Oh, say yours.
So, okay, I'll answer both. I think they'll lose a game in the regular season, and I'll pinpoint 4 games that I think are problems for them. One is this week against the Rams. They play the Rams. And actually, fun fact, the last time the Buccaneers lost a game, it was against the Rams on November 23rd of last year. So they haven't lost since they played the Rams, and it was a 27-24 win, and that was with Jared Goff. So I think with Stafford there, their offense looks a little bit better. I know they've only been targeting Kupp, really, so we're going to have to see them throw to Woods or Van Jefferson or maybe Higbee a little bit this week to have them beat the Bucs. But they play the Saints twice this year, and don't forget, Brady didn't beat the Saints at all last year, or I think they beat them in the playoffs, but in the regular season they lost to the Saints twice, and then they get the Bills. So I think out of those 4 games, they're going to lose probably one of them. But if you're asking about playoffs, I think the only team in the NFC that can knock them off is the Rams. I think it's going to be good for the Rams to play them this week because it'll be their test to see how they fare against them with Stafford. So let's say they even lose the game, it'll help them just the same way you're saying Lamar, playing the Ravens helps, getting experience against them, and Stafford playing the Bucs and that defense, and just the Rams defense getting another look at the Buccaneers offense. So when it comes time for the playoffs, they know each other. But if you're talking about playoffs, like in the real game, like if win or go home, I think Rams are the only team in the NFC that can actually beat them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In terms of, for me, I would say, those are good answers, John. For me, if any team in the regular season can beat Tom Brady and the Bucs, it's going to be the Patriots and Bill Belichick.
Oh gosh,
Bill Belichick knows him.
Bro, how is Mac Jones going to put up points on them? I don't know how that's going to happen.
I think it's more so Bill Belichick knows how to stop Tom Brady.
Oh,
he basically made Tom Brady who he is. He knows his weaknesses. He's going to be able to hit those weaknesses and make him struggle against them. So I think Mac Jones, he's not terrible. I think they're going to be able to put up some points, maybe 14, 17, something like that. But they're going to be able to stop the Bucs offense Bill Belichick is. Believe me, I bet you he's preparing for this game right now as we speak.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, he knows the narrative. Belichick versus Tom Brady. He's gonna come prepared.
And
He's
is
one
that
of those type of guys that has that. He's one of those. I would say
like a master, like a grand plan. He's already like he's got the bulletin board up with the picture of Brady and like
I
a
think
circle.
he's a bit of an ego, even though he's quiet. He has a bit of an ego. He wants to prove something, even though he knows he's not probably gonna go to the Super Bowl. He wants to prove something. Hey, I taught this kid everything he knows, and you're gonna see that. So,
Ooh.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that next week.
Wait, are they playing?
Well, they're not playing. They're playing.
I think that game's in New England.
Yeah, I think it's in New England on Sunday night, not this upcoming Sunday, but the Sunday after.
The third, yeah. They play the Rams next.
That's gonna
and
catch
Patriots
everybody by
after.
surprise. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. In terms of the playoffs, though, I think a team that the Bucs do not want to see is the Cowboys. You saw how close they were in week 1, 2 points. Cowboys won that game basically. If the kicker didn't mess up like a couple kicks, the Cowboys could have won that game. And so, look, the Bucs don't want to see the Cowboys. There's a lot of teams that can beat the Bucs, to be honest with you, but they definitely don't want to see the Cowboys again. It's easier to beat a team after you've faced them one time during the season. So that's what I would say.
All right, I have a daring take that makes me nervous to put it out there because we got people who watch the podcast, and it's going to be I mentioned this before that who in the regular season is kind of my angle who could beat the Bucs, and my pick is actually week 10. They play the Washington football team.
Oh,
and I'm let me no.
Why though?
Let me go into why. I know as a Giants fan, it's still raw. Okay, and I'm an Eagles fan, so but I'm an Eagles fan, so like them being good isn't good for either of us. But I said this last year that don't underestimate them. They got Rivera. They had the number 2 defense in the league statistically, I think, last week. But there's 2 reasons why I think they could beat the Bucs, and it's a bit of a hot take, bit of a daring one. But for one is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they rank, I think, 21st in pass defense, which is okay. But what's happening is that they rank 2nd in run defense. So in the 2 games they've played, the teams they've effectively shut out the run game. So you're pretty much putting up your gunmen against their gunmen.
So you have to have a good pass game.
So you have to have a good pass game and some element of the run, I think. And as always, and I guess the third reason is that Brady, the only ways to generally beat Brady historically is getting a defensive line that can put pressure. And Washington football team, when they're healthy, have that. So will they have that by week 10? There's depth there. They definitely on paper should have improved more than last year, but there's still some growing pains because it's a young team. But they have the pieces there to get the pressure on Brady. McKissick and who was the other guy? Gibson?
Yeah, Gibson.
The reason I think, they might not be the running backs when you think of them, but I know on the Instagram, we talked about McKissick kind of outperforming, but I think the element of expect the unexpected, I think most teams are kind of looking at Washington football team like an easy win. I think they're going to underestimate them. And I think the tandem of those 2 running backs will open up a run game, or at least a passing option with the running back, or play, because if you can't have the run game, then play action doesn't make sense, option, none of that. Like no one cares because if the Bucs defense is really good, but you add to that, I think Heineke's good enough. I don't think he's bad, but I think he's good enough. And then you also add McLaurin, who's an amazing, who's a superstar. Yeah, I know he's on my fantasy team, but he's the kind of guy that reminds me of how Edelman in the Super Bowl with Brady was just like, there's few things you can do to stop him. So all these factors, I would like to see, and I'd like to not my bet money, but I would bet that the Washington football team might be the team that if they're still undefeated, might be the ones that keep Brady away from that perfect record.
I like the Washington pick, and for the main reason that you said Washington, I picked the Rams, and it's basically to get to Brady with the pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
They have one of the best pass rushers, Aaron Donald. They got Leonard Floyd. Both of them were sack leaders for the Rams last year. So, and Leonard Floyd's super fast, Aaron Donald's super fast. So the only real way to stop Brady and the Bucs is to just get to him before he gives it to any of his lethal receivers or Gronk. You have to get to him fast, which is, it's tough because he gets the ball out so fast. but that's one of the main traits that I would try and find
Yeah.
for a team to try and knock down the Bucs. Another reason for the Rams this year. Oh yeah, you want to say something?
Well, sorry, you go first. You go first, and I'll add.
So just to like add on a little bit more, but
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp's having an insane year. Like he's probably gonna have a better year than he did in 2019 or 2018 when he had this huge year. And then adding Matthew Stafford to this offense is, I mean, it fits so perfectly. Even like his jersey, it just looks.
he looks good.
Yeah, it fits. You know, like it just works.
It fits, but it fits. You know.
Yeah, it just looks like it.
He looks
look
like he's from the. Is he from the West normally? Like he looks like a Californian or whatever.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah,
He's from Texas.
He's from Texas.
He's from Texas.
He's got the look, I think. You know.
Yeah, no, he fits right in.
If you showed me a surfer and Matthew Stafford, I wouldn't know who was.
Oh no way. He's got the blonde hair, everything.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, Jared. I'm sorry.
No, you're chilling. Him and what was I gonna say? Oh, him and Cooper Kupp having a great year. They just have great connection. I think in the off season when Stafford got traded, him and Cooper Kupp were doing workouts together all the time. So they probably built up that connection. So that's a connection to watch out for. And as I said before, this Rams team has their sights on a Super Bowl. Like they've made the Super Bowl before. They think Stafford was that missing piece to end up making the Super Bowl. So on top of everything, like the to beat the Bucs is probably their goal. They want to knock off the Bucs. They want to win a Super Bowl. To many other teams, you know, I don't see that being a realistic thing. But for the Rams, it's the only team that seems realistic where they've made the Super Bowl before. They couldn't score in that Super Bowl. They get a stud quarterback. And now it seems like the offense is flowing. The defense is just as good this year as it was last year. Seems like everything's flowing in the right direction. And we're going to see next week or this week whether they have the personnel and the coaching staff to try and beat the Bucs.
Yeah, the one thing I know we talked for a while about it, but the one thing I'd add is with the Bucs, I mean, Brady's going to score a lot of points. Like with that team around him, with Gronk and everything, you're going to score. So you need that defensive element that you pointed out, like cutting pressure on him, having a good enough secondary to. I think good enough's the word because Brady's going to find holes. He's going to get Gronk. Gronk's just like a specimen that you can't cover. It's limiting damage, you know, as well as these teams that can't run the ball against the Bucs, that you can't control the clock. And you can't, how many of your plays in your playbook you can't play when the run isn't out of the question book. So I think the Rams have that pieces as well as with Stafford and Kupp. And, you know, I think what you pointed out, I could see the Rams being a pick. I like my personality. I think the Washington's more of my underdog. Like, I think that element of unexpected is on their side, but the Rams would be like I respect that pick a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the Bucs for a long time, so we'll move on. We'll move on to our next topic, and it's kind of on the total other end of the spectrum. I listed out all the teams that have 0 wins, and the crew is going to tell me the best team with 0 wins. The list is the Jets, the Colts, the Jags, John's Giants, the Vikings, the Falcons, and the Lions. So, John, if you don't pick the Giants, you might have to take off the jersey and the flag. Oh no!
What? No.
The Giants.
Don't say it.
Wait, but then who would you pick?
They're not the best 0-2 team. I gotta be true for our fans. I can't show bias. I mean, I love the Giants, but you know, they just don't play very well on Sundays or on Thursdays.
What you're saying, you don't want to be biased. You just want to be right more than anything.
Right. I just want anybody who's listening. I just want to be right. I want to tell you guys who the best 0-2 team is. I want to because I want to tell you. So the best 0-2 team is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, my one worry with the Colts, and I'm not a huge Carson Wentz fan. I'm sorry, Caleb. I think he passes the ball too much. I think he goes into the QB room before the game, you know, prepping for the game. And I think he tells the offensive coordinator or the play caller, you know, let's just, you know, throw it a lot. He just wants to be the hero. He wants to throw it. I mean, last season, Jonathan Taylor ended the season with like almost 150 rushing yards in the last 4 games, each of the last 4 games. He was clearly the best running back for the last 5 games of the season last year. And this year, you haven't even given the light of day to make plays. You're throwing it every play, and I don't understand it. I know the Rams have a good run defense, but come on. I mean, next week against the Titans, you better put the ball in Taylor's hands and give him a chance.
Yeah.
Wentz just wants to drop back and be the hero and throw it every play. So that's what I don't like about him. But I think they're still the best 0-2 team. They have them and the Giants both have good defenses. I think the Colts might be a little bit better, but their offense is definitely better than the Giants' offense right now. So hopefully they can give it to JT more. But I think the Colts at the end of the season, they're going to end up with more wins than any of these other 0-2 teams.
That was Carson Wentz's problem on the Eagles. He always wanted to be, top guy. He wanted to be the MVP, right? So, that's good that you recognize that. Hopefully they fix that early, unlike the others where they struggled before they realized it.
Enough
But yeah, so should I go?
Carson Wentz slander is back again.
I mean, yeah, okay. Jonathan, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go quickly. So, I mean, before I say my selection, I just want to say I saw the Jets on this list, and I'm just going to go out and say that Zach Wilson has been a disappointment so far in the league. I think people had high expectations of him, and so far he's definitely not lived up to par. So, we'll see how he does during the season, but so far it's not looked good at all. But in terms of the greatest 0-2 team right now, I'd have to say it's the Vikings. Okay. They lost a pretty close game this past Sunday.
Should have won.
But yeah. But I like what I saw from Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, he's a pretty reliable back. I think he's gotten hurt so much times, but he still gets up and plays. I don't know how he does it. I don't know what he takes during halftime, but hey, he's a pretty reliable running back. Kirk Cousins, like we see splashes of greatness from him at moments, and so I think their team's pretty good. I think they're going to start winning these next few weeks. I mean, they have the pieces there with Thielen. Thielen's been good. Jefferson, they have the offensive pieces to do well. They've just not been able to close games these past couple of weeks, but I think going forward, you'll see a different result. But I think they have a really great team.
That's a fair pick. And the receiving's going off right now with Adam Thielen.
Yeah, Thielen.
Cousins and Thielen's going off. Caleb, do you have a similar pick? Vikings?
I wanna go through my process of elimination here, really, because it's tough to go with these 0-2 teams. This is my thought process. You guys feel free to pick it apart. Jets, I'd say no. Growing pains, young organization, young quarterback. It's just out of the question. Jags, also similar. Growing pains, new system. I want to go down to the Falcons. They have trouble winning. It's just hard to place my finger on it, but they have trouble winning. Still, Lions, new system for Goff, and still question marks with Goff. So it brings me down to the Vikings, Giants, and Colts. I like all three of those teams for picks that you guys have had so far. Except the Giants, but mainly for the reasons Jonathan just said for the Vikings. I want to go Colts maybe because I've always been a Carson Wentz fan, but he just got injured. He sprained his, I think, left.
He sprained
ankle.
Both of them.
He sprained. Okay, but I'm reading this article. He sprained the left one and continued to play, but then sprained his right one when it twisted underneath Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald in the fourth quarter. So again, I applaud Wentz for his toughness, and it's not the first time that he threw a touchdown on an ACL injury. He played on a sprained. I think it's early in the game he sprained his left ankle, so he played the whole game with the sprained left ankle. But now he's sprained both. I think they're waiting on results. So without Carson Wentz, I wouldn't say they're the best, but I like John for your pick with that because if they have him and divide the ball up, I think he has the pieces and ability there to be great. He's not a running guy like Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson is, but people always said if his mechanics were there, which there's potential there, it's just the injuries, and you could argue that it's similar to Goff's situation. and I just as an unbiased opinion. So honestly, I'm gonna go with division rival Giants
Wow.
as the best team with 0 wins because watching, we talked a lot about Lamar Jackson earlier on. I know Michael Vick said he likes this nickname, but Vanilla Vick for for Daniel Jones. I mean, some of those play, like the one touchdown got called back for a penalty, which is like it was a penalty, but it's so dumb. But he's got that running ability. He doesn't look like it after years of seeing Eli in that pocket. To see Daniel Jones, who's got a similar like stature, like I see him run, and I'm like, that's not someone changed the sliders in Madden for Eli. Like that's not anatomically. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's fast. He's elusive in a way that's just like you think he's like a running tree, but he's got that ability to run. So it was a close game. They could have won it, so they could have been 1-1 and not been on this list. But I know John, you're a fan, and you said you wish they started out stronger. That because they have on paper the pieces are there and they haven't
Right.
shown. But if we're talking like it's only the second game of the season, if we're talking down the line, they get those things together. I'm gonna go more with the Giants than the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings have Thielen. I just don't think Kirk Cousins can Kirk Cousins win a Super Bowl? Maybe, but I like what I see more in Daniel Jones for the Giants. So that'd be my pick. But I also want to point out before I know Jared, we're waiting on your pick, but some interesting stats for 0-2 teams. Okay, from 1990 to 2019, only 12% of 0-2 teams made the playoffs. Okay, compared to 62% up until 2007 that were 2-0. So if you're 2-0, you basically, and that went down to 54% in 2007. So if you're 2-0 right now, you have basically, let's just say, a ballpark 50% chance of making it. If you're 0-2 now, you have a potentially 12% chance making it, with the little asterisks that with the extra team in the playoff, the extended game, like these stats are a little skewed now, like no one kind of knows. But last season, though, if we're talking about recency bias, all 11 teams to start 0-2 failed to make the playoffs, and that was last season. So now there's 7 teams, so it's a little bit less spread out. I mean, I think last season there was a lot of bad. There's a big difference between the worst and the best teams, you know.
Yeah.
So it was also the your first year with COVID and stuff. So it could, these are just, they don't always project the future. They're more rear view mirror than they are windshield. But I thought that was interesting that last year every team that went 0-2 didn't make the playoffs. So I don't think that'll be the case here.
Those are some great stats. Those are awesome.
Yeah, I got him off. If I can find the article, I'll give him credit for whichever platform gave us those.
I agree with you. I agree that the Giants are right now the best team with 0 wins. If we're talking, can they make the playoffs? I think they have the best chance because, no offense to everyone's team here, Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants, but they're in the worst division. So if there's any team that could make it out of this list, it's them. So
no, Jared, you don't actually believe that. Do you?
You remember? Can we just look back at last season when 8-8 Washington team made the playoffs? That's horrendous. That's the worst ever.
And well, Dak's back, and the offense is looking unstoppable. I don't think any team in the division can beat Cowboys.
Bro, the Cowboys. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. Okay. The Cowboys offense scored 17 points. And I have the stat. Thank you for reminding me, because this is a pretty good stat. The Cowboys, that was the first time they won in a regular season game while scoring less than 30 points in like this last 17 games. And also, the Cowboys, when Dak is playing, they're 25-0 when they have more rush attempts than pass attempts. So maybe their offense, maybe they should start running the ball more.
Just in the fourth quarter, we're down 20 points. Let's just run the ball 20. Just get the stat, and then
yeah.
But that's really interesting though. No kidding. 25-0.
25-0.
John also wants him to run because he's got Zeke.
Yeah.
Fantasy. So he's like,
Zeke's looking like a bad pick right now.
Exactly, because Pollard is doing good too. So there's
I guess
rotating them.
You're still getting run attempts.
Tony Pollard.
I wonder if those combined, right. The run attempts, was it just with Zeke or just like overall?
No, all combined.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, John, you gotta admit, like, take the Cowboys out of this. Like, if you just look at the big picture, comparing divisions, this is lead the worst division.
No,
No,
but
no.
The AFC East. If you
Thank
take out
you.
the Bills, the
Thank you.
Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets are the worst.
Whoa.
Yeah. They're
Okay,
definitely.
if you take out Tua and the Dolphins, but the Dolphins had a good year last year, and this year the Patriots look pretty good with Mac Jones.
They're okay.
That's 3 quality
Well,
teams.
I-
But with the Washington, they have a backup in Heineke, and then Jalen Hurts. He's had great games, but the consistency. Daniel Jones, the consistency. Dak Prescott coming off a season-ending injury. The quarterbacks are a question, just like it has been last year and the year before.
Yeah, but what if you take out the Packers out of the NFC North? You have 2 0-2 teams in the
but at
Vikings and
least
Bears
there's the
and
Packers.
Lions, and then you have the Bears who aren't
At
that
least
great.
there's-
It's
at
not
least
the
there's
NFC
the
least
Packers.
anymore. It's not the NFC least
Yeah,
anymore.
you can't make fun of us anymore.
The Packers, are going to be
Rally.
first. The Packers are going to be first. You don't know who's going to win the NFC East. You have no idea.
Yeah, the
You would
Cowboys
all
are.
give me 3 different teams.
Okay.
Jonathan, you would say Cowboys. John, you're going to say the Cowboys,
Cowboys.
but I know you deep down that's wrong.
No, the Cowboys are going
You
to win
don't-
the division. I'm
you don't
not
mean
going to
that.
like.
You
I'd
don't
be
mean that.
stupid to say the Giants are
Don't-
going to win the division.
No. If we turn this camera off, he's going to be like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
You're saying his words aren't the words that he's saying are not what he means.
Yeah, it literally takes 1 win for John to be back on the train again for the Giants. Just 1 win. If
I think that happened last season.
if Barkley gets over 100 yards rushing, he's back on the train and he's going to be right with you. Just
how
like
many-
he was last season. The very end,
No.
pick the Giants.
Yeah, but the train crashed at the end of the season.
No. The wording, if you guys remember, was we all like threw in the towel and like I'm taking the towel back.
Yeah, everyone did.
Okay, we're not that bad though this year. The towel was like a mile away and we had to go pick it up. Now it's like I'm not throwing a towel. I'm just saying like we're not the worst anymore.
And not to go too far into this, but Jonathan, you threw in the towel before you even had the towel. It was before game 1. You're like, it just isn't our year. It doesn't. It's just like halftime. You're like, Dak's MVP. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Like,
I've never
what?
seen him play like that.
So
I've never seen him play
can
like that.
you can flip easily. So
No, I'm surprised. I would say Dak is actually of all the quarterbacks. Well, I like Hurts too, but Dak is the most consistent. I think.
By far the
100%.
best quarterback in that division.
I'm not saying I think he's the most consistent, and that's at this level, it's pretty good to be consistent.
I'll just say one more thing about the Giants, 'cause I didn't even talk about him, but Daniel Jones had his best game of his career then. And if Slayton caught that ball, they win the game easy and they're 1-1. So, but if Daniel Jones, man, if he just limits those turnovers and he plays consistently, he doesn't even have to play as good as he did last game. Just keep him in the game, keep the offense going. And Barkley got better. He had more rushing yards this game than last game. It's all about the progression, getting him back to his 100% self, his rookie year self.
Yeah.
And once he gets to that point, I think Barkley will. That's scary stuff. Daniel Jones, he's got those long strides. That touchdown called back was terrible. I think that's terrible for football. Should have never called it back. Like Daniel Jones running the ball looks so freaking cool, man.
Yeah, they got chipped on that call. Or on the one call,
did.
it was like even the commentators like there's nothing there,
Yeah.
It was awful. They should have won that game. So it was just the refs and that offsides was not offsides.
Oh yeah, that was.
He had the perfect snap. I don't know. Whatever.
I think he might have moved. He might have moved a little early, but I don't think he crossed the line.
No, he didn't go. He moved up. He moved like up and he didn't go in the neutral zone. So
he might have jumped it, but he was like, it was really close.
Yeah.
The refs kind of needed, Washington to fit
their fantasy.
Their fantasy or something. It was pretty obvious, but Giants, I think, Daniel Jones hitting his stride. Barkley's just getting better and better. Hopefully he can get back to that 100% self. And that defense still is really good. I wouldn't say top 5 anymore, but top 10 at the very least. So we've talked about that enough. We're going to go into John's fantasy picks really quick. Our topic is trade or keep. Pretty simple. I'm going to name a player. John's going to tell me if he is going to trade him or if you should keep him. So the first one, George Kittle. Now he had 11.80 points in week 1 and then 5.70 points in week 2. So a big regression. He had 9 targets total in 2 games. And last year, when he played in week 1, week 4, he had a total of 20 targets in those 2 games. So, John, what's going on with George Kittle? Should they trade him or should they keep him?
I'm so glad you asked about Kittle. I think you should keep Kittle if you have him. A lot of people DMing me on Instagram this week, late last week, asking me, I have Kittle. He got 11.8 points week 1, like you said. And then this week, even worse. He did have 4 catches like he had in week 1, but he only had 17 yards. How could you let one of your best receivers, I think he's even better than Debo, how could you let him only have 17 yards? I know they won the game, but come on, how can you target him only 4 times? He caught all 4, but it was for 17 yards. Like that means he's not even going deep down the field. He's just doing like in routes or curls or like out routes, like 3-yard out routes. So it's like, what are you doing? I think if you have Kittle on your team, it's still week 2. It's too early to panic on him. I mean, I wouldn't even try to trade him. If people are going to try to send you trades to try to buy low, but I would keep Kittle this week against the Packers. It's a good opportunity for him. We saw TJ Hawkinson the other night on Monday. He got 24 fantasy points against the Packers. So keep Kittle, see how he does against Green Bay this week. I think he's going to have over 15 fantasy points. He'll probably break out for over 60 yards or a touchdown. And I think he'll show you why he's, should be your tight end.
Caleb has George Kittle, so
I respect the honesty, John.
Next one on the list, AB Antonio Brown. He had a huge week 1, 23.70 points, and then a huge regression, 2.70 points in week 2. John, what the heck do we do with Antonio Brown? Trade or keep him?
This is a similar situation to Corey Davis. Corey Davis had mid-20s in fantasy points week 1. And if you guys watched my TikTok live this past Sunday, I said sit Corey Davis because he's playing the Patriots. And what do the Patriots like to do? They like to take away your best option. So they took away Corey Davis. He had 2.8 fantasy points, similar to Antonio Brown, who had 2.7 points this past week, but it was for a different reason. And the reason is because the Bucs can go to so many different players. Last week, they decided to go to Antonio Brown and Gronk. This week, they decided to go to Mike Evans and Gronk. Next week against the Rams, they could decide to go to Godwin and Evans, or they could decide to go to Gronk and maybe Fournette. So it's tough to say, but honestly, if I had Antonio Brown on my team, I would really consider trading him. I would see who else in the league I can get for him. Maybe there's a guy who needs a good flex wide receiver or wide receiver 2, somebody that has Michael Gallup just got injured. Maybe you could try to send him a trade for Antonio Brown, try to get one of their second running backs, or maybe somebody like Mike Williams or something who's been targeted a lot, but it won't be, will be targeted more than Antonio Brown going forward because Brown is hard to trust. And after having, 23.7 points week 1, you might be able to get some good value for him. So I wouldn't say definitely trade him and sell, just get anybody for him. I wouldn't go as low as like, a Darius Slayton for him. But I would try to trade him, maybe a wide receiver 2, see some team that's looking for a solid flex play and try to trade Brown while he has some value now.
All right. And then our last guy, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 pretty poor performances in week 1 and week 2, 10.20 points and 2.60 points in week 2. What the heck do we do with CEH?
So CEH, a lot of people have been asking me, should I trade for him because he's been doing, really bad. Or should I trade him? Should I trade him away? Should I just drop him? I mean, you're not dropping him. If you probably picked him with your second or third pick, if you're in a 10 or 12 team league. If you have CEH right now, his stock really can't get much lower than it's gotten. The Kansas City Chiefs don't really run the ball. I mean, CEH did get 13 carries last week against the Ravens, but he only turned it into 44 yards, and we saw that costly fumble. And we saw Darrell Williams get a lot of carries too. I think he even ran one in. So if you have CEH, I would not trade him because you're probably going to not even get some value for him because everybody's going to try to give you some bad players for him because his stock is so low. So if I had CEH, I would keep him, but for a different reason than I said keep Kittle. I think keep Kittle because I think in the coming weeks he's going to pick it up pretty fast. But CEH, you might have to wait closer to 4 or 5 weeks, but don't trade him now while his stock is super low unless you're getting a really good deal out of it. Somebody that, was taken in the 4th or 5th round in fantasy, possibly you can go for that, but keep Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's still on the number 1 offensive team in the league. So maybe they start running the ball. Maybe Mahomes starts to target him out of the backfield. So I would say hold on to him.
All right, beautiful, John. Thank you for the fantasy football insight, and tell everyone the time for your TikTok live. Tell everybody about that.
So TikTok live, I'll be going live on TikTok. I had a big showing this past week, biggest of the career so far. 17,000 people joined at one point. The top viewer count was over 1,500. So I go live every Sunday at 12 noon Eastern time, 1 hour before kickoff. I have a whole schedule answering people's questions, giving my rankings for each player group, and giving my weekly picks and must sits. So definitely stay tuned for that. And if you can't make that, we decided that we're probably going to do a fantasy podcast shorter than this one, probably 20 to 30 minutes, probably post on Saturday, because I know a lot of people can't make it. Usually people have plans on Sunday around noon. So definitely stay tuned for the fantasy podcast because I'm excited to give a little bit more in-depth analysis and preview for the upcoming week, other than the 45 minutes that I do on the live on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Our TikTok live, that's a show.
Awesome stuff, Joe.
A whole show. I got it all for you guys.
It's amazing.
It's really fun. It's really fun. People got to check it out.
For real, you guys got to tune in. All right, last up, as we have done the past 2 weeks, week 3 predictions. Now they're going to be about 1 to 2 sentences long. Any prediction you want for week 3. I'll start this off since Jonathan kind of already went into the Jets. So I actually think that the Jets fans are pretty happy this week, and Zach Wilson will have his best game, and they're going to beat the Broncos in Denver.
No way.
Can you believe that?
Against Bridgewater.
Mile High City. He's gonna beat the Denver Broncos. He'll have his best game, and get this, 0 turnovers for Mr. Zach Wilson.
Wow.
0 turnovers. So Jets fans, I haven't been right once, but I think this is the time.
No, why do you believe? Oh, okay, well, we're keeping it short, right? I can't.
Yeah, just a small snippet.
Okay. Just leave us wanting more.
I think Denver is overrated. I don't think they're worthy of the 2-0 record.
Okay.
I struck a chord with Jonathan, apparently. That's all I'm saying. So they're not
all right.
In a record.
We'll see.
Anybody else? Jonathan, John, Caleb.
I'll go because I my prediction, Monday, September 27th, prime time. Jonathan just immediately looked at. I'm calling it for the Eagles.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts is going to humble the Cowboys. He's going to run all over them. And we're going to win. And we're going to get that momentum to carry us to the NFC East lead.
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. All right.
We'll have Manning and Manning, right? ESPN too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. People got to tune into that. That one's going to be fun to watch.
Jonathan, rebuttal?
So I think the Cowboys are gonna definitely beat the Eagles. I'm just trying to think of a good score. I think the Cowboys are gonna score more than they did against the Chargers. So I'm gonna say maybe 24-3.
Yeah, that's
no respect to Jalen.
That's a violation.
That's
a violation.
Dude, he's on one today. What the heck?
Bro, you're giving Jalen Hurts 3 points? That's it?
He's been struggling.
They're not going to get to the 40-yard line. They're only going to get there once. For field goal.
Maybe 10. The highest I'll give is 10. But I'm struggling.
He gave you 1. A little bone.
Lucky throw.
All right, this is what we expect from the audience expect from a Cowboy fan and an Eagles fan. This is always This is the age-old fight we have
This is the
every
first
time.
interdivisional rivalry right now because they haven't played the
Oh, yeah.
Giants yet.
Right.
So this is the first one. I mean, the Chargers got slapped, and I'll take the blame for that one. I also got slapped in fantasy, so literally couldn't have been worse for my prediction.
No, we've had a lot of hot takes today, so it's going to be fun to see who's right and maybe who's wrong next week.
John?
So my one-line prediction is similar to Jared's. I think that Jacoby Brissett, who is most likely going to play for Tua this week as Tua was injured, I think Jacoby Brissett is going to come out, and I think he's going to beat the Las Vegas Raiders, the 2-0 Las Vegas Raiders, on the road in Las Vegas. He's going to come out firing. He's going to have 3 touchdowns, and he's going to beat that Las Vegas team.
Has he ever had 3 touchdowns in his
I don't know, but he's going to do it this week.
He has
I've seen him
now.
play. I don't know, man. I don't think he's that good.
I didn't say he was good. I just think he's going to win.
He's going to be good enough to beat them.
He's good.
That's an interesting take. I know we can't go
Raiders,
more into it, but I'm
they're one of the hottest teams right now. So
Yeah.
that's a very interesting pick. I'm
interesting
interested.
pick. Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for episode 3 of the Dorm Debate Podcast. As we said before, if you're not following on Instagram and on TikTok, it is at Dorm Debate Podcast. John said before we're going to be going live, or he'll be going live on TikTok Sunday at noon Eastern time. And for the podcast, as always, we'll be posting this Thursday at 10 a.m. So be sure to tune in for that.